Hi, everybody, and welcome to This Week in the NBA. You know, I remember when we were nothing more than a single camera, a couple 60-watt lights in a bar stool, and now look at us. I give credit to my partner, Mike Glenn, for that, though. You know, he did the big star thing and made a whole bunch of demands, and you have that kind of power.
I do. I didn't know that, but I'm glad we didn't have any time off like Houston. At least we can continue our role here.
I'm glad I could fill you in on your power potential, by the way. By the way, are you ready for some serious power? Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Final tonight.
I am ready. Let's get these conference finals on, and let's get to the real big party, the finals.
Knicks Pacers got to do their thing. Before we get to tonight's game, though, let's set the table by going back to Game 5 of the series. It was at Madison Square Garden, and Reggie Miller made himself right at home. He was steady through 3 quarters, then exploded in the 4th, outscoring the entire Knicks team 25-16 in that final period. It was a legendary performance which swung momentum Indiana's way. But as John Starks put it, the Knicks were down, but far from out.
No doubt in our mind that we will be back here on Sunday, ready to move on to the championship.
Well, Starks never said he made it his personal mission to win Game 6, but he played like it. He told teammates they needed to be more aggressive and less tentative with so much at stake. And Starks wasn't shy at all, hitting 8 of 11 from the field, including 5 three-pointers. He also did a great job keeping Reggie Miller from getting any good looks at the basket, like he did in Game 5. Well, the stark reality was a 26-point performance that helped New York win Game 6 and even the series at 3-all. The numbers looked great, but Johnny felt better about the way he held Miller in check.
Well, I just had to buckle down and be very defensive, conscientious of him and not let him get to an open spot on the court. I think I did a good job of pushing him towards my help. Well, you know, I just wanted to come out and shoot the basketball. I came over to the court very early to, you know, get a feel for this court. You know, I haven't been on this court for a while, so it's very important that you come out and shoot the basketball just to get a feel.
Johnny played great tonight, you know, shot the ball extremely well, played great defense, you know, picking up the loose balls, which is what this team is really all about.
Well, John played good. You know, he got a bunch of open looks and he knocked him down. John's a good player, so, you know, you knew he was going to step up sooner or later and knock down some shots.
You guys were given up for dead in New York, dead and buried. Nobody thought you guys could win this game.
We did, and that's all that matters. You know, we felt that we can come in here and beat this team, and we came out with the victory.
Game of your life?
I think so.
You know, we're not pretty. You know, we just play hard and extremely tough, and we do the things that winners do. And let's make all the little plays, the effort plays, and John is just, you know, indicative of that.
What about Game 7 now, going back to the Garden?
It's going to be a great atmosphere. We can't wait to get back to them towel wavings and, you know, just to get back on our home court and you know, and play the way we did tonight. It's going to feel good.
Well, Mike, when it comes to the Knicks, Patrick Ewing gets all the attention, or gets a lot of it. It's kind of hard to miss him, but how important is John Starks to New York's success?
Bob, I think he's tremendously important. See, he's that kind of person that gives you that creative, off-the-dribble surprise attack. Knicks are very predictable. They just go inside, do the same things on offense and defense. He's the one element that balances out their team with his style of play.
I wonder if we'll see him throw up one of those over-his-head blind shots today.
He may.
Well, it's kind of surprising to think that this group of Knicks have rarely been at a game this big. The past 3 years, they've been knocked out by the Chicago Bulls, and while one of those series went to 7 games, that was in the conference semifinals and did not include some of the guys currently on the Knicks roster.
Most of these guys have never, ever been in a position like this before to get to the championship round. This is the first time that they've ever been in a game that's going to get them there. And I think that in itself will inspire them. You know, you always talk about the light at the end of the tunnel. Well, we got to get to the tunnel at the end of the light.
I believe in a 7-game series, the best team will win. And, you know, tomorrow everyone will know who the better team is. There's no trying to pretend now. It's our last game. It's either now or never. I mean, not to put any pressure on ourselves, but that's just the way it is. So things being the way that they are, we just let them be and relax and play the game.
Okay, let's break it down, Stinger. The Pacers were missing something in Game 6 that they'll need tonight. What was it?
It was the big guy, Rick Smits. Now, he came up with 18 points on 7 for 19 shooting, but he has to be active, has to be quick, shoot the jump hook. As soon as he catches it, just turn and let it go. Don't look for a double team. They need him to play kind of like Karl Malone did when they were in Denver at the series. He said, I've got to shoot it when I get it. I've got to make it happen. Smits has to do that today.
Now, who besides Starks and Ewing has to make it happen for the Knicks?
Well, I like Anthony Mason. I think he's a factor, not only because he plays good defense and he likes to play defense, but he's also a transition player. He runs the court, Bob, and he has good hands. Knicks don't want to play half-court offense all the time, but you've got to get out on the break, and Mason is the guy that can play both ends of the court. He and Starks really get this team off and running. They need some easy baskets.
We've already talked about what Reggie Miller did in Game 5. To me, that was really a signature, sort of his stamp on these playoffs. Patrick Ewing has not really had that type of game yet. Could Game 7 be that game for him?
It could. Patrick had a huge game in Game 2 where he had 32 points and 13 rebounds. He was active. We call him playing like Akeem of the East, but he needs to have that kind of a possessed game where he's running the floor, he's active, he's blocking shots, scoring, and rebounding. They need that effort from him tonight.
We know Knicks fans will be looking for it, that's for certain. Well, irony is a great thing in sports sometimes. A guy comes back to haunt his former team with a game-winning shot or beats the team from his hometown. It might also apply to the merchandising end of the game. Logo 7 is one of the official merchandisers of the NBA. They'll be printing up all the Eastern Conference champion T-shirts. Logo 7 is based in Indianapolis, so wouldn't it be ironic if a company in the Pacers town had to print up shirts declaring the Knicks as conference champs?
I could live with it professionally. Emotionally, I'm having a little difficulty with it this morning, but I think that New York still is not won this best of 7 yet.
If you were going to go out on a, not as a prognosticator, but if you had to print tonight and you had a deadline before Game 7, what would you print?
Oh, Pacers all the way, no question about it. That's why I don't print early.
Why are we playing the game then? Just print them and we'll go on. Coming up next, that other team that's patiently waiting for an opponent. The Houston Rockets were getting restless, so they headed to Galveston. But life's becoming a beach, just knocking heads with each other. They want to get back to the business of winning fast.
This week's Georgia Pacific Delivery of the Week, courtesy of the Houston Rockets. Vernon Maxwell on the dribble to Otis Thorpe. OT slams it home for the delivery of the week.
NBA Finals. And while it's certainly not first and foremost in the players' minds, they all know that the Rockets came up empty their previous 2 trips to the Big Dance. In 1981, the team made up of guys named Tomjanovich, Malone, Murphy, and Dunleavy finished under 500 during the regular season, but stormed through the playoffs before losing to Boston in 6 games for the title. In 1986, the Celtics deep-sixed Houston again. It was the Twin Towers era. Akeem Olajuwon was enjoying his 2nd season with the Rockets, but he has not been back to the finals until now. There's no denying that Seattle's elimination in the first round of the playoffs removed one potential stumbling block for the Rockets, but don't think they haven't earned their spot in the finals every step of the way. Here's a look at what it took for Houston to get to the Big Dance. Allow us to throw some numbers at you. Akeem leads all scorers in these playoffs with nearly 30 points per game, and his 12 rebounds per game are tops for those still in action. Akeem, as we know, is both the MVP and Defensive Player of the Year in the NBA, but can he handle the drawn-out battle against a guy like Ewing or Smits? And the answer is...
Of course he can. Akeem can do it all. You know, you really have to respect his defense. He gets a lot of credit for his shot blocking and his rebounding. He got Defensive Player of the Year. His help defense is key. See, Oakley, like Karl Malone, scores a lot of baskets right around the lane using his broad shoulders. Akeem will block a lot of those shots, and I think he can guard Patrick Ewing one-on-one. Probably the only player in the NBA can do a good job of guarding Patrick one-on-one, and that relieves pressure on the rest of your defense to match up with their players.
Well, every star needs a supporting cast, and Akeem is no exception. For the most part, he has had a good supporting cast, but guys like Vernon Maxwell and Sam Cassell, Mike, have been streaky, and that could be dangerous for the Rockets.
Certainly could. Sam Cassell is the guy who is really stepping forward. See, the Knicks defense will take away your set offense. You won't be able to run the play that you want to run. You have to have guys that can create it as they go. Look at Sam Cassell. Shake, bake, little ball fake, lean in, under, shoot the basket, make key assists to your teammates. Cassell is only a rookie, but he has that ability to score and get everybody involved, just creating it himself.
And as we saw, he's not afraid to go inside as well. Now, Houston also needs a guy hitting from outside. Maxwell, as we know, can do it, but you feel that Robert Horry might be another one of those guys that makes a big impact.
Really improved his game, Bob. Horry is a guy that does whatever it takes. He feeds well off Akeem. He can stay outside, shoot the long three-point jump shot. This guy is 6'10", shooting long three-point jumpers. He can follow up with slam dunks. He can give the ball to Akeem, cut to the basket, take a return pass, and dunk it. He is the perfect complement right now for Akeem Olajuwon.
And as you might have heard this week, Robert Horry was involved in a minor car accident. That was Thursday as he was going from Houston to Galveston. He's okay. He'll be ready to rock. Well, at some point this week, either the Knicks or Pacers will hop a flight to Houston for the start of the NBA Finals. It's a good thing they didn't go a couple days ago. The Rockets wouldn't have been there. The team got back last night from Galveston, where it was resting up and catching some rays on the beach while they try to stay fresh for whomever their opponent will be. The Rockets say the key is focus. Got to stay focused. But it's a hard thing to do, considering Houston will have been idle 5 days before the finals begin Wednesday.
It's very difficult to focus to zero in on one team, so we're still just trying to prepare for both teams.
It's getting closer to the games now. I think everyone's focus is picking up. Practice was a little more intense. Guys were playing a little bit more normal and playing a little bit more competitive.
Tired of beating up on each other. We just want to go out and we're trying to work out some bugs right now. We're just ready to get out there and play against somebody different and get this series on the way.
We've got to really fight losing our edge. We're playing real good, sharp basketball, and to take this long off without real competition is going to be, that's something that we've got to deal with, and we're going to try to do the best we can and stay sharp.
Well, 5 days off, that's a long time in NBA life. Can the Rockets keep their edge with 5 days off?
Yes, they can. Tell you one thing, though, that has really been a blessing for them. They've had some injuries. Carl Herrera had his first practice on Thursday, and he's the guy with the shoulder injury, their most physical role player. Thorpe had some injuries with the hip he's recovering from and Maxwell's thumb. So the time off, I think, is more of a blessing than it is a curse for this team.
Now, what if they come out rusty? Is that, it's obviously dangerous, but can one guy maybe pick up the slack, start a fire, and then get everybody else involved?
That's the beauty in having Akeem Olajuwon. If things aren't going well, give it to Akeem a little bit more often. He's never off, so you can count on Akeem, but the outside shooting will be a key, though, Bob. They want to keep that sharp for sure.
Okay, coming up on This Week in the NBA, our own version of Wheel of Fortune, but Pat and Vanna will be on the bench. Instead, we'll enlist the help of the National Spelling Bee finalists to help us describe this year's playoffs. You won't want to MISS it. Well, we've all heard the phrase, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. Well, the past couple weeks, Kevin Loggery was sitting around his kitchen wondering if the heat could still stand him. As it turned out, they could, and Loggery signed a new 2-year contract to remain as head coach. The club ended up with a 42-40 record, its best ever, plus it made its second trip to the playoffs. Miami nearly upset Atlanta in the opening round, and that boosted Loggery's stock near the end of the regular season, nearly cost it a playoff berth. So they decided to stay with their man. Is Kevin Loggery the right man for this job?
He is, Bob. Kevin brings some intensity, some energy, a lot of enthusiasm to that organization. And when you're a young team really trying to find yourself, you need to play hard every day. It demands that of his players, and he's done a good job there.
Of course, we heard a lot of talk about some guy checking into a hotel in Palm Beach by the name of Krzyzewski.
Yeah.
There was a lot of speculation that the Duke head coach was up for the job in Miami and several others around the NBA, but Coach K put the rumors to rest Tuesday when he announced he's remaining at Duke for now. Well, the National Spelling Bee was conducted this week, and I just love to see the look on those little smarty pants Shishevsky. Seriously, though, the kids who made it to the final really know their stuff, so we enlisted their help in order to capture the true flavor of this year's playoffs.
Even we were having trouble coming up with the right words to describe this year's playoffs. For instance, how would you describe all the Game 7 situations we've seen?
Senectitude.
How are we supposed to know what that means?
May I have the definition, please?
Sure, just don't get all choked up about it. All the Game 7s are sort of a cosmic convergence of karma. Perhaps we should move on. We've seen a lot of physical play. These guys have been anything but sedentary.
Can you use it in a sentence, please?
Sure, kid. If you're sedentary and get caught in the middle of this fracas, they'll have to peel you off the floor. Caused some
disenchantment
in the game.
Have a definition, please?
No problem. Look at the commissioner. That is disenchantment. And fighting isn't the only problem the league office has had to deal with. What about the one who is
hebephrenia?
Please define that.
A schizophrenic reaction that is characterized by silliness, delusions, hallucinations, and regression.
Is there anything else I can ask?
Absolutely. Ask about the great work of the big men in the playoffs. There have been times when Hakeem Olajuwon has carried the Rockets.
Ombudsman?
No. Hakeem Olajuwon.
Ombudsman?
Olajuwon.
Ombudsman?
Olajuwon! He's only in the... you know.
Origin, please.
Nigerian. But what does that have to do with it? Look, maybe getting the kids help wasn't such a good idea. Their minds are obviously elsewhere. And basically, we've run out of ideas. I-D-E-U-S?
You know, that's why I'm so happy my parents named me Bob. It's really easy to spell forwards or backwards. But if you want to ding me, Judge, again, well, spell this. Dikembe Mutombo Palondo Mukama Jean-Jacques Wamutombo. Spell it. Michael, work on it. Coming up next, we go from spelling words to counting money. Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley do a lot of that. Actually, their people do. But the money they racked up this week on the golf course went to a worthy cause. We'll give you the skinny next. How special is a Bill Russell autograph? You'd have to ask those who attended a signing by the Hall of Famer in Boston yesterday. But just to get Russell's name on a piece of paper cost $295. And any other item with his signature cost up to $495. One big reason for the hefty price tag, Russell rarely gives autographs and never does signings. He reportedly received $100,000 for the appearance. In a related story, I went out to lunch with Stinger recently, and he charged the waitress $5 before he'd even sign his credit card receipt. Moi? I don't believe him. He got a 5-spot from her. Anyway, some other big money guys got together on the golf course this week to make some money for charity. Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley played a game of skins in Birmingham, Alabama. Prior to the start of the Seniors Bruno Classic, there was Charles teeing off, steps up, and he turned a golf ball into a deadly projectile. Somebody forehead after that. Charles O with a flat stick, trying to bag a skin, but no, it won't go. Then Mike comes in, gets the rebound, and clears it out. Despite the nice putt by Jordan coming up, Barkley actually won the skins competition 10-8, and later revealed golf.
I play golf, number 2, to get away from people, because most of the people who belong to golf courses are rich and stuck up, so they leave me alone. So that's one reason I play golf, and it just gets me away from people.
Okay, crystal ball time. Knicks, Pacers, who
Got to go with the Knicks. I think they'll win it at home, kind of the same way they did the Bulls in Game 7. But what a great matchup that would be. Hakeem and Patrick, you'd have to go back 22 years or so when you had Willis Reed and Wilt Chamberlain, two marquee matches. A great finals.
We'll know later tonight. That's going to do it for This Week in the NBA. Next time we get together, we'll be down to the terrific 2, the Rockets and fill in the blank. For Mike Glenn, I'm Bob Lorenz. We'll see you next week.